The music barely had time to breathe before Simon's hand went up. 10 seconds. Not even a full verse. The room froze, the audience gasped, and the man on stage, thin, nervous, dressed in a slightly worn black Elvis-style jacket, felt his heart drop straight to the floor. The judges' table looked impossibly far away, the lights suddenly too bright, too honest. For a moment, it felt like the end of a dream that had taken a lifetime to build. And just when everyone thought this was another audition about to be forgotten, the Filipino Elvis did something no one saw coming. Before we go any further, if you've ever believed in second chances, hidden talent, or the kind of moments that give you goosebumps, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us why we never give up, and you don't want to miss what happens next. His name was Marco Reyes, 34 years old, born and raised in a small coastal town in the Philippines where life was simple but unforgiving. His father had been a fisherman, his mother a seamstress, and music was never supposed to be more than background noise on an old radio. But when Marco was 7, he heard Elvis Presley for the first time, Can't Help Falling in Love, crackling through a neighbor's speaker. Something about that voice reached into his chest and rearranged everything. From that day on, Marco sang everywhere, on the beach, in the kitchen, walking to school. He didn't speak English well, but he memorized every lyric by sound, by feeling. Life, however, didn't care about dreams. His father passed away when Marco was 16, and the responsibility of helping his family fell on his shoulders. He worked construction jobs by day, sang at small bars and birthday parties at night, sometimes for food instead of money. People laughed at the Elvis costumes he stitched himself, told him to grow up, to sing normal songs, to stop chasing a foreign fantasy. But Marco kept going, because every time he sang, it felt like his father was still listening somewhere. Years later, a viral clip from a local talent show caught the attention of a producer. It wasn't perfect, but there was something raw, something honest in Marco's voice. An invitation followed. America's Got Talent. A plane ticket. A chance he never thought would come. His mother cried when he told her, pressing a small silver cross into his hand before he left. Sing from here, she said, touching his chest. No matter what happens. Standing on that massive stage, Marco felt smaller than ever. The judges smiled politely. The crowd murmured. He introduced himself, his accent thick, his hands shaking. When the music started, nerves took over. His voice wavered, just a little. To Simon, it sounded like another Elvis impersonator trying too hard, copying the look without capturing the magic. And so, 10 seconds in, the music stopped. Simon leaned forward, not unkindly, but firm. Marco, I'm going to be honest. Right now, this feels like an impersonation we've seen many times before. The silence was brutal. Marco nodded, swallowing hard. His eyes glistened, but he didn't cry. Instead, he did something unexpected. He raised his hand gently and spoke. Sir, may I try once more? Not as Elvis. As myself. The audience stirred. Simon hesitated. Something in Marco's voice, not the singing, but the speaking, felt real. After a pause, Simon shrugged. All right. You've got 10 seconds. Impress us. Marco closed his eyes. He took off the Elvis jacket, folded it neatly, and placed it on the stage floor. Then he spoke again, softer now. This song. I sing for my father. No backing track this time. No theatrics. Just a man and his voice. When Marco began to sing, the room changed. It wasn't an Elvis impression anymore. It was Elvis-inspired, yes, but filtered through grief, love, and years of quiet struggle. His voice was rich, trembling with emotion, bending notes in a way that felt deeply human. You could hear the ocean in it, the long nights, the hunger, the hope. The audience leaned forward. One judge covered her mouth. Simon's expression shifted, his skepticism melting into surprise. 10 seconds passed. Then 20. Then 30. No one stopped him. By the time Marco finished, the theater erupted. People were on their feet, cheering, some wiping away tears. Marco stood frozen, disbelief written all over his face. He hadn't come to win. He had come to be heard. Simon stood up. "That," he said, "is what we were missing. Not Elvis the icon, but Elvis the feeling. And you found your own voice inside it." Yes followed. All of them. Backstage, Marco broke down for the first time, clutching his mother's cross, whispering thank you over and over. The journey wasn't over, there would be tougher rounds, criticism, pressure, but something had changed. He no longer felt like he was asking for permission to dream. In the weeks that followed, Marco became a fan favorite. Not because he was perfect, but because he was real. Each performance told a story, and people saw themselves in him, the immigrant, the underdog, the dreamer who almost gave up. He didn't win the season. But when the finale aired, Marco stood on that same stage, confident, grounded, singing with a quiet strength that needed no costume. And when it was over, the applause felt like home. Today, Marco tours small theaters, sends money back to his family, and teaches music to kids in his hometown when he can. He still sings Elvis, but only after singing something that's truly his. Because sometimes, it only takes 10 seconds for the world to doubt you, and one brave moment to prove yourself right. If this story moved you even a little, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us share more stories like Marco's, stories that remind us that even when someone stops the music, your voice can still change everything. The buzzer didn't just stop the music, it stopped his breathing. 10 seconds in, Simon Cowell lifted his hand, and the song died mid-note. The crowd let out a sharp gasp, the kind that slices through silence. On stage stood a man who had crossed oceans for this moment, now frozen under the lights, his dream hanging by a thread. Everyone thought they knew how this story would end. But what happened next shocked the judges, silenced the audience, and changed his life forever. Before this story unfolds, take 1 second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. These are the stories that prove miracles still happen, and you won't want to miss what comes next. His name was Daniel Cruz, a 37-year-old father from Cebu, Philippines. Back home, he wasn't known as a singer. He was known as Kuya Daniel, the man who fixed roofs, drove tricycles, and sang Elvis songs at weddings when someone begged him to. Music was never a career, it was an escape. When Daniel sang Elvis, it wasn't about copying the voice. It was about survival. His mother used to play Elvis records while cooking, dancing barefoot on the concrete floor, laughing even when money was short. When she passed away, Daniel stopped singing for years. Every song hurt too much. Life became heavier. He got married young, had a daughter, then lost his job during a typhoon that destroyed half their neighborhood. Some nights, Daniel would sit outside with his guitar, singing quietly so his daughter could sleep, promising himself he'd find a way. One night, she asked him why he never sang on big stages like the people on TV. Daniel laughed it off. But the question stayed. When a local producer saw a shaky phone video of Daniel singing at a fundraiser, something clicked. Months later, Daniel found himself on a plane for the first time in his life, clutching a borrowed suitcase and a dream he didn't feel worthy of. America's Got Talent felt unreal, too big, too loud, too perfect for someone like him. On stage, Daniel wore a simple white suit inspired by Elvis, hands trembling as he introduced himself. The judges smiled politely. The music started. He opened with an upbeat Elvis classic, trying to impress, trying too hard. His voice wasn't bad, but it wasn't honest yet. 10 seconds. Simon stopped him. "I'm going to be honest," Simon said. "I don't know who you are yet. This feels like an impersonation, not a connection." Daniel's heart sank. The audience went quiet. This was it. The moment he'd feared. Years of sacrifice reduced to a polite rejection. Then Daniel did something no one expected. He stepped forward and spoke, his voice breaking. "Sir, may I tell you why I sing?" The judges hesitated. Simon nodded. Daniel took a breath. "My mother loved Elvis. When she was sick, I sang to her every night. When she died, I stopped singing, because it hurt too much." Today, I sing because I don't want my daughter to grow up thinking dreams are only for other people." He took off the white suit jacket and placed it gently on the floor. "No music," he said softly. "Just my voice." What followed didn't sound like Elvis. It sounded like truth. Daniel sang a slow, stripped-down version of an Elvis ballad, his voice cracked with emotion, every note trembling with memory and loss. You could hear the years in it, the storms, the empty pockets, the promises whispered in the dark. The audience leaned in, afraid to breathe. One judge wiped away tears. Simon's eyes never left the stage. No one stopped him. When the final note faded, the silence lasted a second too long, then the theater exploded. A standing ovation. Cheers. Tears. Daniel covered his face, overwhelmed, shoulders shaking as he bowed. Simon stood. "That," he said, "is why this show exists. Not to find perfect singers, but to find real ones." For yes. Backstage, Daniel collapsed into a chair, sobbing. He called his wife. He called his daughter. "Papa did it," he whispered. Papa sang. Daniel didn't win the season. But he won something bigger. His story traveled across the world. People saw themselves in him, the parents, the workers, the dreamers who thought it was too late. He returned home a different man, invited to perform across Asia, using his platform to rebuild schools damaged by storms. And every time he sings Elvis now, he smiles, because he's no longer hiding behind the music. He's standing inside it. Sometimes, all it takes is 10 seconds for the world to doubt you, and one honest moment to remind them who you really are. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us share more powerful stories that remind us it's never too late to be heard.